My name is Claire. I'm 34 years old, and I used to think I understood happiness. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, in a small but cozy house by the river. My childhood was warm and safe, filled with the scent of my mother's home-cooked meals and my father's laughter echoing through the hallways. Maybe that's why I always longed for a life that felt the same steady, comforting, and full of love. I met Adrian when I was 26. I was working as a marketing consultant, constantly busy with clients, deadlines, and endless coffee cups to keep me awake during late nights at the office. Adrian came into my life like a calm breeze on a scorching summer day. He wasn't loud or flashy. He was quiet, observant, and incredibly charming in a subtle way. I remember the first time I saw him. It was at a friend's birthday party, and I was standing in a corner, pretending to check emails on my phone because I felt awkward in crowds. He walked up to me and said, "Do you always hide at parties, or is this just a special occasion?" I laughed. That was the start of everything. Our love grew quickly but naturally. We spent hours talking about everything and nothing: our dreams, our fears, the books we loved, and the music that felt like home. Adrian was attentive. He remembered the little things, like how I hated pickles on my burgers or how I loved old jazz records. When he asked me to marry him 2 years later, under a sky painted with stars on a warm summer night, I didn't hesitate. I said yes with tears streaming down my face, believing I had found my forever. For the first few years, life was everything I had hoped for. We bought a house, a charming 2-story home with white shutters and a small garden that I adored. I filled it with flowers and laughter, and for a while, everything felt right. Adrian was supportive, caring, and gentle. We would sit on the porch in the evenings, sipping wine and watching the sun melt into the horizon. I thought, this is it. This is happiness. But happiness, I've learned, can be deceiving. It started with little things. Subtle changes that I brushed off because I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. Adrian became distant. He started working late, often coming home long after midnight. When I asked, he would smile that reassuring smile and say, "Deadlines, Claire. You know how it is." And I believed him. Because why wouldn't he was my husband. My partner. My best friend. But the distance grew. He stopped asking about my day. Stopped noticing when I dressed up for him or cooked his favorite meals. Our conversations became mechanical, like two people going through the motions. I told myself it was just a phase. Every marriage has ups and downs, right? That's what people say. Then came the phone calls. The hushed tones when he thought I wasn't listening. The sudden need for privacy. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was overthinking because of stress, but deep down, a knot started forming in my stomach, a knot of doubt and fear. One night, I decided to surprise him. It was our anniversary, and he had told me he couldn't make dinner because of an important meeting. I believed him, but something inside me pushed me to check. I drove to his office, heart pounding with excitement and a little guilt for not trusting him completely. When I got there, the building was dark. Empty. His car wasn't in the parking lot. I called him. He didn't answer. That was the first crack in the glass, the first time I felt the floor beneath me tremble. I drove home that night in silence, tears blurring my vision. When he came home hours later, I asked him where he had been. He smiled casually and said, "The meeting ran late." You know how clients can be. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. So I nodded and forced a smile, even though my heart felt like it was splitting in two. The days turned into weeks, and the distance grew wider. Adrian became a stranger living under the same roof. He started guarding his phone like it held the secrets of the universe. He would step outside to take calls, whispering in a tone I had never heard before. One night, when he was in the shower, I picked up his phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. And then I saw them. The messages. Sweet, intimate words that weren't meant for me. Words that once made me feel cherished but now were written for someone else. Her name was Emily. My vision blurred as I scrolled through the messages. They weren't just flirty texts. They were declarations of love. Promises of a future together. Plans for weekends when he told me he was working. I dropped the phone like it burned my skin and stumbled to the bathroom, my chest heaving. I could hear him humming in the shower, like everything was fine. Like he hadn't just shattered my entire world. When he came out, wrapped in a towel, smiling at me like nothing had happened, I couldn't speak. I just stared at him, wondering how someone I loved so deeply could betray me so completely. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, listening to his steady breathing, while my mind replayed every moment of our life together. Every "I love you," every kiss, every promise. They all felt like lies now. The next morning, I confronted him. My voice was shaking, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear myself. "Who is Emily?" I asked, holding his phone in my hand. The look on his face, that moment of shock, followed by guilt, will haunt me forever. He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. He just sat down on the edge of the bed, running his hands through his hair, and said, "Claire, I didn't mean for this to happen." I laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh that didn't sound like me. "Didn't mean for this to happen, Adrian. You planned weekends with her. You told her you loved her. You built a future with her while I was here, waiting for you, loving you." He tried to explain. Said he felt lost, that our marriage had changed, that he didn't know how to tell me. All I could hear was the sound of my heart breaking into pieces I could never put back together. I told him to leave. My voice was calm, too calm, even as tears streamed down my face. He begged me to talk, to try and work things out. But how do you fix something that's been shattered beyond repair? When he walked out the door, a part of me went with him, the part that believed in love, in trust, in happily ever after. The days after were a blur. I moved through life like a ghost, going to work, smiling when I had to, but inside, I was empty. Friends called, worried about me, but I couldn't bring myself to talk. How do you explain that the person you built your life around has destroyed it? Weeks later, I learned the truth. The real truth. Adrian didn't just fall in love with Emily. He had been planning to leave me for months. They were looking at apartments together, talking about marriage, about kids. Everything we had, he was recreating with her. I wasn't just betrayed. I was replaced. That broke me in a way I can't put into words. I wish I could tell you I moved on quickly, that I found myself and became stronger. But healing isn't linear. Some days, I wake up and feel okay. Other days, I wake up and the weight of it all crushes me. I've learned that heartbreak doesn't disappear. It lingers, like a shadow, a dull ache that reminds you of what you've lost. But I'm still here. I'm still breathing. And maybe, one day, I'll believe in love again. Or maybe I won't. But for now, I'm learning to believe in myself. To find strength in the ruins. Because even when someone shatters you, there's a part of you they can't touch. The part that whispers, you will survive this. And I will.